Hi, this is Umair back with another UWP tutorial. As I told earlier that I will be covering the major and important topics of Universal Windows Platform development. I have already created videos about data binding, data template bindings that are required for you to learn MVVM pattern. You might have used other patterns like MVC pattern in ASP.NET, AngularJS and other different technologies. But in this video we use XAML in UWP, so we will use the MVVM model view model pattern for working with it. There are built-in extensions in Visual Studio 2015 like MVVM Lite that can be used, but I want to structure my own model and bind those models with a view by my own, so I'll not be using the built-in MVVM Lite patterns. So what is MVVM pattern? MVVM pattern contains three things. We have a view, we have view model, and then the model. View is the XAML that consists of elements. We have the buttons, we have text boxes, and then we have a model that is the data which we bind with the view, but we don't directly bind view with the model. Instead we use the controller between these two things called view model, and that takes care of all the bindings between model and view model. I'll be showing you all these concepts with the examples, so stay tuned. Before that, I just want to explain you what are the benefits of working with MVVM pattern. It supports reusability. We define the data in model, and that model can be used in various different views with the help of view model. It allows us to hide the business logic from the view. View model can convert the data of model in such a format that it can be fit to our view, and you don't need to write business logic directly in code behind of the view. It supports command binding and value converters. It removes duplication, and our view model can be reused for multiple views. I have created an empty project in Visual Studio called UWP MVVM. Make sure you have Visual Studio 2015 or later to work with UWP applications. And in this project I have the main page.xaml and app.xaml. I need to create few models inside it to work with UWP MVVM pattern. So let's create a new model. I will right click my project and I will create a new C# class. I will go to add new item and I will name this class calculator.cs. I'll click on this class and I will change the name of class to calculator and I will click add. Our class has been added. Now we need to add few properties and few variables inside this model. So I'll come inside the body of my calculator class and I will write private int value 1 equals to 0, private int value 2 equals to 0, and I will create a constructor public calculator int value 1 int value 2, and inside this constructor I will fill the value 1 with the value 1 and value 2 with the value 2. Alright, and after that I need to create 4 methods inside this class. One is the add, subtract, multiply and divide. So let's go and write those methods. Public int add, return value 1 plus value 2. Alright, and I will copy this one and paste it 3 more times, and I'm gonna change the name of it to sub mul and div, and I will change the operator as well. This is subtraction, this is multiplication, and this is division. So I have created this model called calculator, and now I will bind these values with the view, and I will create the different text boxes in my XAML, and then those text boxes will be bind with the properties of this value 1 and value 2. But before proceeding further, I just want to explain you few concepts. If you have seen my data binding and data template binding video, and I have explained you what are the different modes of binding. There are 3 modes of binding. First one is the one-way binding. If we change the value of this variable, then the value of our XAML element will be changed. This is called one-way binding, and another is one-time binding. If we change the value of it, and that will reflect in the UI element, but the second time if we update its value, it will not reflect because it was just has to be changed first time. And the third one which we are going to be used in this tutorial is the two-way binding. Means if we change the source, this variable or the property is the source, then the target, which is the UI element, will also be changed. And if we change the target, then the source will be changed as well. So this is called two-way binding, and in this video we will use two-way binding for exploring the MVVM pattern. So now let's go and create a new class in this project, and I will right click it, click add, and I will add a new class, and I will name this class main view model base. Alright, and now I will define few and write few code inside it, because there is a way so that our UI elements will know that the properties have been changed, and I need to notify the UI elements that the properties have been changed, so you may need to change your value as well. So I will come inside this class and I will change its access modifier from public abstract. Alright, and I will inherit this class with something called iNotify property changed. iNotify property changed. Alright, it's giving me an error. I need to click on this and I need to import using system.component model. Alright, it's still giving me an error because I need to import the interface public event property changed event handler property changed. Alright, and after that I need to write a protected function, protected virtual void on property changed, and inside it I need to send a type of property which has been changed, and I will receive that property in property name. Alright, and I will write property changed event handler this dot property changed. And after that I need to check if handler is not null, then I need to call handler function and pass it this reference and the object of property changed element, property changed event args, and the property name. Alright, so that's pretty much it for writing inside this class, and I will inherit this particular class in my another view model, because this class is just for notifying that that particular property has been changed. Keep the unique things in separate classes, because we don't want to write in further view models that we are going to create. We have multiple view models in our class, and all those view models if contain this code, then that becomes messy. I have just written this code right here to keep things at one place. And I'm also going to change the access modifier of my calculator class to public. Alright, let's save this project, and now we are done with our model and our main view model base. Now I want to open up my main page.xaml file, and I want to design the user interface before writing any further C# code. So I'll open main page.xaml and I'll click on this one because I like to work like this. Code, the XAML code on the right side and the UI on the left side. So inside the grid element I will define few elements in a way that we have 2 text boxes, we have 4 radio buttons, and we have 1 button OK, and the result text box as well. So inside the grid element I will first change the background of grid, and I will change it to hash FFDEDEDE, and I will change it to a grayish color, and I will click on this because I want to look it in the landscape mode. I will go right here, fit all. So our background color have been changed. Now inside the grid element, I will first define my stack panel. Orientation is vertical, horizontal alignment center, and vertical alignment has to be center as well. And inside this stack panel, I will define a text box. Text box, text, binding, and I will write the name of property with which I want to bind this text box. So I will write value 1, and I will give it a mod, and the mod would be two-way. I've already explained you what is mod. So next property is width, and the width of it should be 300, and the last one is the margin. Margin is 0 and 10. Alright, and I will copy this line, and I want to create another text box, and I want to bind it with the value 2, and the width would be 300 and the margin would be same. Alright, so we have created two text boxes. After that, we need to create a stack panel of radio buttons for selecting plus, minus, subtraction and multiplication operators. So I will define a stack panel, and I will define few properties of stack panel first. So I will write width 400, and I need to define the orientation that has to be horizontal, horizontal alignment center, and vertical alignment center as well. Alright, and within this stack panel I need to create 4 radio buttons. I need to add the margin as well, and that would be 0 and 10. Alright, so for the radio buttons, let's write the radio button is checked, and is checked is the property that I haven't created yet. I haven't yet either created the value 1 and value 2 because I need to create a main view model that will inherit this main view model based class. But I am defining and binding all these text boxes before writing that class, but you should just follow me. You will understand what's going on in a moment. Alright, so is checked will be the property that I will write, and inside it I need to bind it with a is add checked. Alright, and after that the mod would be two-way. Alright, and the next property is the content of radio button, and this is add. So I will click and press the addition operator. Okay, so I will copy this one and I will paste it 3 more times, and is checked, is add checked would be is subject, and the third one would be is mul checked, and the last one would be is div checked. And I will also change the operator. This is the subtract, this is the multiplication, and this is the division operator. Alright, so we have defined our radio buttons, and outside this inner stack panel I will come right below of it and I will add another text box to show the result of the values will be written in these text boxes and after clicking any of these radio buttons. Okay, so I will write text, and inside this text I will bind it with the result property mod two-way. Alright, and I will press enter, and I will add the width 300 and margin would be 0 and 10. Alright, and now I think that's pretty much fine, and after that I need to add a button. Alright, it's not showing up right here on the left side. There must be some error right here. I have the text double quotes binding with the result and then the mod equals to two-way, and after that I have defined the width and the margin. So let's go and create our button right here, and I will write button and I will add a property with it called command. And in this button click event, I'm not going to add a click event. Instead, I'm adding a command binding so that there shouldn't be any code in the code behind of in this file mainpage.xaml.cs. I'm not gonna be writing anything inside it. If we double click on the button, and that a click event will be generated in this backend file, but we are using MVVM pattern. In MVVM pattern we don't write anything in the code behind of our XAML file, so that's why I have defined this command binding with the keyword command. So I will write and bind it with a property called OK button clicked. Alright, and after that I will check if the button is enabled, and I will enable it if any of the radio buttons is selected or not. If any selected, then I will enable this one. So I will bind it with the model bind is any radio button check. Alright, and after that I will add the content of OK, and we need to add the horizontal alignment as well to center, and vertical alignment to center as well, and the margin has to be 0, 10. Alright, so we have the button with the OK, and I think I should increase its width as well, so I will add width, and that would be 100 pixels, and let's add the background to it as well, and I will write hash 330. Alright, so we have defined and designed our layout, and that's been done. Now we need to go back to our project and we need to create our main view model that will be used for binding this model, inheriting this class, and show the result with this UI elements. I have already written the code for the binding, so I need to create the same spelling while defining the properties in my main view model. So let's go to our Solution Explorer, and I will right click on it and I will go to add, and I will create new item, and inside it I need to create a new class, and I'm going to name this class main view model, and I'll click add. So our class has been created, and now we need to first inherit this class with our main view model base class. But make sure you don't run this application because it will generate some errors, because I have bind these elements with the properties that are not existing yet. Alright, so I need to define all these properties in my main view model. Okay, so now let's go and define properties. I will write private calculator, and first I will define a variable for my model class, calculator underscore, and I will give it a null value. Alright, so private, if you know the structure of C#, we define the variables first and then we define the properties for it, and we use the variables in the setter getter of those properties. Alright, so private int result underscore equals to 0, private int value 1 underscore equals to 0, Let's correct the spelling. It's private, and we have private int value 2 underscore equals to 0, private bool is add checked underscore equals to false, private bool is subject underscore equals to false. And I'm going to copy this one, these two lines, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to change the name of it. This is the mul and this is div. Alright, and after that I need to add another variable for enabling and disabling button. We have binded it with the is any radio button check, so we need to define this variable. Private bool is any radio button check underscore false. Alright, so we have defined all our variables. It's gonna be a bit lengthy code because I need to define the properties for all these variables. It might look a bit difficult and lengthy for now, but if you are developing an application that contains so many XAML files, so many C# code in different models, this MVVM pattern really help for the reusability. Don't write anything in the code behind of XAML. Try to use the MVVM pattern, okay? It helps in a long term. So I will first define the property of my calculator variable. So let's start with the bottom. I will write public bool is any radio button check, and make sure the spelling of it should be same as this one. I'll copy this one and I will paste it right here. Alright, and inside it I need to define get, and inside the get I need to return that variable is any radio button check, and after the get I need to set, if that particular value is changed then I need to set it with a new value. So I will write is any radio button check equals to value. Alright, and after that I need to call the on property changed event, because this is how our UI element will know that the value of this variable has been changed with the new value, and it has been set right here in this block. Alright, so I have already inherited this class with this base class, so I can directly call that function. So I can write on property changed and I can send out this particular property. Alright, so this will notify our UI element that this property has been changed. So I will copy this property and I will write the property for all other variables. So I will copy this one and I will change the name of it to value 1 and copy this one, paste it right here, and I need to, let's copy this value 1 and paste it right here and paste it right here as well. Alright, so that's pretty much fine. This is the value 1 and I need to change the return type of it. That's why it was giving me an error. So public int value 1. So I'm going to copy this one again and paste it for the value 2. So I will change it to value 2 and the variable is value 2 underscore, and I need to send out the value 2 to reflect its change. Alright, and the next variable we have the result. So let's add the result property. So I will just copy this one and I will paste it, and I'm going to change the name of it to result. Make sure the spelling of these properties should be same as the variables that we are binding with. This is the result and this is the value 1, value 2. So that's going pretty well. So I will change the result and let's copy this result and paste it right here as well, and in here I need to send out this property. Alright, so let's do for the other variables. We have all the variables for our radio buttons, but one thing more, I just want to let you know that don't notify this property if this value is equal to this one. Alright, we don't want to create and notify and call the method inside this base class if the new value is same as the previous value. Alright, so it's always a good practice to write something called in. Let's come inside the set, if value not equals to result underscore. Alright, if the new value is not equals to the previous value of result underscore, then notify that it has been changed, otherwise don't do it. Alright, so now let's go and define the properties for our isAddChecked. So I'm going to copy this one and paste it right here, and I'm going to change its name to isAdd. If you already do the C# programming, you should know that this is the convention for defining the variables and this is the convention for defining the properties. It always starts with a capital letter, it always starts with the small letter and with the underscore. So it is isAddChecked is a boolean, so I will change the data type boolean, and isAddChecked is addChecked. So this is the variable. Don't mistakenly add the property name right here. So I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it right here and paste it right here as well, and in the notify function I need to send out this property, not the variables. So I'm going to paste this one as well, and the next one is our isSubtract. So we have isSub and we have isSubChecked, the variable, and I'm going to copy this one, paste it right here, and in the function I'm going to send out this property. And next we have is multiplication checked. Alright, so I'm going to copy this one, paste it right here, and I'm going to change its name from isSubChecked to isMulChecked. Alright, and let's write something to get the hint that what is the spelling of isMulChecked. So these are the spellings. Let's copy this one. I'm going to paste it right here as well, and send out this property. And the last one is our division. So isDivChecked. Okay, let's copy this one, paste it right here, and right here I need to select the variable isDivChecked. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this particular class. We have created the properties, and with these properties we are binding the variables with the UI elements. But if you already done the data binding, you should know that in the code behind of mainpage.xaml.cs file, we give the data context to our UI element, that this is the data context with which you need to bind different elements with different properties. But I haven't written anything in the code behind of main page. I need to directly assign the data context within this XAML file. So how can I do it? I need to go back to the top grid element, and within the page element I need to write something inside it. I need to write page dot data context, and within the closing bracket of it I need to write local colon main view model. Alright, and it will automatically set the main view model as the data context of this XAML UI. Alright, so it's giving me error because I need to rebuild my solution, because it is not finding that if that particular model is existing or not. So I will go to my solution explorer, I will right click it, and I will rebuild my project. So it will take some time, and it's gonna let that model to be available for this XAML file. So our rebuild is complete. We can see that all these text boxes are set with the default values of our model properties. We know that if we go to the top, we have the value 1 equal to 0, and inside our main page.xaml we have set this value to 0 because by default this has been set to 0, and we have the 0 in the result text box as well because by default the value of result is 0, and all the check variables of the radio buttons are false. So we can see that no radio button has been selected because these are false. If we click on any of these, that will reflect in these variables, and these variable values will be changed as well with the two-way bindings. Alright, so we are done with the data binding of our view model with the model. So we can see that we have binded this HTML not directly with the calculator but through the main view model. Alright, and one thing more we need to add to get this thing work. We need to add a command binding event on this OK button. Whenever we will click on this OK button, it is disabled because we have this is false, and when we will click on this one, it needs to show the result in this text box. Alright, so let's go and create the command binding in our command binding class. So inside my project I will go to my Solution Explorer and I will create a new class called delegate command. You can get this class from online, but that will contain a bunch of information that we don't need or required in this particular project. Alright, you can get this class as well from the internet, but I will write those much things that are required for my project. So I will write delegate command and I will click add, and inside this command I will write some code, and I will then use this delegate command for enabling and disabling that OK button and add the click event on that button as well. Alright, so just be patient because we are just structuring our project for our large application if we want to develop, and that really helps and really help us in the reusability of code. So I will define a private and I will write simple event handler, and I will write handler this one, and I will write private bool is enabled equals to true. Alright, it's not existing. I need to click on it and I need to generate a simple event handler class, but right now let's keep it as it is because I'll create it later on. So public event handler can execute changed, and public delegate void simple event handler, and I will give it a reference of a function, and after that I need to create something called public delegate command, and inside it I need to give it simple event handler and handler. Alright, and within this function I will define my handler. So this dot handler equals to handler. Alright, and after that I need to create a function for the button enabling. So I will write public bool is enabled, and inside it I need to add a get function. So I will return this dot is enabled, and after that we have done with the is enabled function, and we need to write our another function called is command executed. So let's come back right here, and we need to write private void on can execute changed, and inside it I need to check if the can execute change is not null. So this dot can execute changed is not equals to null. And then I can write can execute changed this event args dot empty. Alright, and above this is enabled function, I need to write something inside it. So just come below this, get this function is enabled, and I'm going to define a function called void I command dot execute object arg, and inside it I need to call this dot handler. Alright, let's add another function, bool I command dot can execute object arg, and I will write return this dot is enabled. Alright, these two functions will verify that whether should the button be enabled or not, and that will be verified by the object that we will send inside it. Alright, and we have just get function inside is enabled, and we have written our own can execute change function inside it as well. Let's hover this button and I will just import this system.windows.input from here. Okay, so let's save this file, and it's giving me error because I need to call a function. This is not a property, this is a function. Alright, and it's giving me delegate command icade command can execute object because I need to inherit this class with the iCommand class. So iCommand. Alright, now the error has gone from here, so we are done with it. I have written this class because I just wanted to keep it for my own purpose, related to my own specific application. You can get this class, and those classes can contain bunch of functions that are required for them as well. Okay, so I'll save this one and I will come back to my main view model.cs class, and I will come at the bottom, and just after this is div checked property, I will add a function for enabling and disabling my button. So I will write public I command OK button clicked. Alright, and I will write get return new delegate command, and this is the class that we have just created, find result. Alright, let's import this one. Alright, and I haven't created it as well, I just need to create this one just after it. So let's come outside it, and I'm going to create a new function, public void find result, and that's it, that error has gone. And inside it I need to check when this button will be clicked, then what should be the result in our this result text. On this button clicked, I need to check that which radio button has been selected, and according to the selected radio button I need to show the result in this result text box. So I need to come back to my main view model, and inside my find result I need to check calculator, create a new calculator, and I'm going to send out value 1, and that is the property, and value 2 that has already been binded with our XAML elements. These are two text boxes that are binded right here. Alright, and when these will be changed, it's gonna change the properties of our view model, and that property will reflect our changed value, and this is where we will send out our changed value in our calculator constructor. Alright, and after that let's add if condition. If is add checked, then we need to set the result to calculator dot add. Alright, we are keeping the business logic of our application in our model, so that's why I said that it extends and increases the usability of our code, and that calculator class can be used in multiple view models in different ways where we want to use different functions of that model. Alright, so I'm gonna copy this one, paste it right here, and I'm gonna say else if is subject, then I need to call a sub function of my model. Alright, let's copy this one 2 more times. I'm going to paste it right here, and is mul checked, then I need to call the mul function. Alright, and the last one is div checked, then I need to call the div function right here. So we are done with everything. Now our application should work pretty well, but before that I need to go and see if there are no errors right here, and I need to go to my Solution Explorer and I need to right click it and rebuild my project, and it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna rebuild all the classes and the files in my this UWP MVVM pattern project. So it has rebuilt, I think it's still rebuilding. Okay, so I need to click on the local machine. This button is enabled, means it has rebuilt our project, and there is no error right here. It's showing me at the bottom that rebuild all succeeded. So let's click on local machine, and now we need to test our application whether it's working fine or not. So our application has been started, and now we need to enter few values. Let's add 4 and let's add 5, and I'm going to select any of these radio buttons. Let's select the plus, and still my OK button is not enabled. I need to go back and see the error right here. So let's close this one. I need to go to my main view model, and I need to come to these properties, and inside these properties, if any of these radio buttons are checked, then I need to enable the button, and I know that the button is being enabled with this property. Alright, so I need to change this property to true when any of these radio button is changed. So this is where our radio button is being changed. Alright, so I will come between these two lines of code, and I will write on not is any radio button checked, and I will call this property and I will give it a true value. Alright, and I will copy this line and I will paste it right here as well, paste it right here, and paste it right here as well. Alright, so this should work fine now. So let's go and click on local machine. So our application has been started. Let's enter a few values. Let's add 12, let's add 5, and I'll click on any radio button and see if the button OK is enabled or not. So I'll click on it. You can see that the button has been enabled. Alright, so let's click OK. You can see the result. Let's select this subtraction sign. Let's click OK. We have the 7 plus and we have the OK button. So our application is working fine. It was a bit hectic job at start because we need to write so many things for working the MVVM pattern, but this is the hectic job at the start of developing our application. We have written this structure and we need to copy this structure to a new application, and we need to develop the large application following the same structure. In a long run, this structure will really help because it will increase the usability of our models, the view models that we have written right here. Now the last thing that I want to explain you, that is also very important, that is not related to this application, but I want to show in further applications you might need that particular concept to know, and that is called our value converters. And let's go and work with our value converter in this project. So first of all, what is value converter? We know that we have elements and all the elements have different properties. And let's say that we want to disable this text box until and unless any radio button is checked. But we cannot directly bind if the radio button is checked or not, because the radio button is checked is being controlled by this variable, and this variable is of type boolean. It returns true or false. But showing and hiding any particular element require a string. Like for showing it requires a string called visible. For hiding it requires a string called collapsed. So we can't directly bind this particular variable with the visibility of this result text block. Alright, because it has a property called visibility, and if we bind the visibility property with this variable, and it will return true or false, that will generate error because visibility property required a string and we are giving a value of a boolean. Alright, and with the value converter we can check and we can convert any kind of data type value to any other data type value. So what I'm gonna do right here, I'm going to check if this variable is true, then convert the value of it into a string called visible, and then that converted value will be given to the visible property of this text block. And we can convert any type of data to any other type of data based on which property we want to apply our converter. Alright, so now let's go to our solution explorer, and I'm going to right click my project and I'm going to add a new class, and that class is called bool to visibility converter. Alright, let's add this class in our project. So it's gonna take some time. Our class has been created and I need to inherit this class with a class called iValue converter. I need to import its package, so I need to import windows.ui.xaml. Alright, and I need to add few methods. It is an interface, so it requires methods to be implemented in the child class. Alright, if you know what is inheritance and using the interfaces. So I will define two functions. Let's add the function directly implement interface. So I have directly added two functions, convert and convert back. Alright, these two functions, the convert will be used for converting boolean to our visibility, boolean to string, and convert back is to string to boolean back. Alright, so inside we have the value, we have the target value, parameter, and the language. Okay, so I'm going to remove this line from here, and instead I will check if value, and we will receive a value inside this value object variable, and I'm going to check if value is bool, and let's add not. If value is not bool, means it is a string. Alright, then I'm directly return the visibility dot visibility dot collapsed. Alright, and this is the class that we need to import right here. Alright, we can directly, this is the class that can be used for showing and hiding in our XAML, and we can also directly use these classes in our C# classes as well. Okay, so outside this if condition, I'm going to write bool object value. If it's not bool, means if it's not bool, then we are going to simply return string. If it's bool, then we need to convert this boolean into a string. Alright, so first I need to get that value, so let's convert that value into bool. Alright, and right now I need to check if object value is true, then I can return visibility dot visible. Alright, I'm converting boolean into visible and the collapsed, and this variable will be binded to the visibility property of our result text box. Okay, so after this if condition, I need to return visibility dot collapsed. Alright, if this value is true, then I'm converting the true into visible. If this value is false, then I'm converting the false into collapsed into a string. Okay, so that's been done for the convert. I need to write the reverse of convert in my convert back. So I will write inside it, I will first add try, it generate exception, so I need to add the try catch block if bool value, then I need to return it to visible. Alright, and outside this try block I need to add a catch. I'm not going to add anything inside it. Instead, after the catch block I need to return visibility dot collapsed. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this particular bool to visibility converter. You can also get these classes from internet as well, but I have written these classes in front of you because I want to explain you what's going on inside it. If you want to modify it for conversion other type of data, like from integer type to our boolean type, from boolean type to our double type, then you must know how you can modify this code. That's why I've written code inside it. Now I need to go back to my main page.xaml, and I need to add a resource of it, just like I add the data context resource right here. And I need to add a resource page.resource, and inside these blocks of HTML, blocks of XAML elements, so I need to write local colon boolean to visibility converter, and I need to give it a key, and give it a key bool to visibility converter, and key is used for binding it with the UI elements. Alright, so it's giving me error because I need to rebuild my solution. It doesn't know that if bool to visibility converter exists or not. Make sure there is no syntax error right here. Alright, so let's save this project, and I'm going to click and right click on it, rebuild my project. So it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna resolve all these errors from here, and we are gonna see the user interface on the left side. Alright, so if the local machine button is disabled, means it's rebuilding. So our rebuild all succeeded, and we have our UI right here, and there is no error in our page resource. Now we need to bind this text box with the property of visibility to the variables. So I will come back to my text block, and I will add a property called converter. Not right here, but actually I need to write visibility variable because I want to bind that boolean property after conversion with the visibility property. If I directly write collapsed, it will be always be collapsed. If I directly write visible, it will always be visible. Alright, so I can't directly assign a value to it. Instead, I will bind it with my converter. So I will write binding is any radio button checked, and this is a boolean. Alright, this is the variable and this is the property that I'm binding with, but bind it with this one, but after conversion. Alright, so we need to convert this one into visibility, so I need to write comma, and after that I can write converter, and let's go forward, and inside my converter I'm going to add the curly braces, and inside it I can write static resource, and I need to give the key of my bool to visibility converter. So I can write bool to visibility converter. Alright, Now this value will be bind after conversion. If it's true, it will be converted to visible. If it's false, it will be converted to collapsed, and then it will be bind to this property. Now let's save this file, and I'm going to rebuild my project again so that there might not be any error. Sometimes we face these errors, so I'm gonna click on my local machine to see if our so there is no text box right here, the result text box. Alright, so I need to check any radio button from here and give the values from here as well. Let's give the 12.6, and if I click on any of these radio buttons, the result text box should be shown up. So I click on this radio button, so you can see the result text box has been shown up. It has returned true, and that has been converted to our visible. So that has been applied to the visibility property of our text box. Let's click OK. We have the result in our text box. So guys, that was pretty much it. I hope that you have got the idea, a complete idea of how to work with MVVM pattern, how to design your structure of your UWP project. The same structure also work for the WPF desktop applications, because in that WPF technology we also use XAML, we also use C#, we also use model and view model. So make sure you comment below if you have any question. I will answer your questions, and don't forget to subscribe my channel for more videos about UWP, WPF or C#, and like my video as well. Thanks for watching my video.